ready to be dish out to serving to the waiting public?
Um, the cake, as your analogy puts it, is very soon, will very soon be dished out. The construction, for the most part, has been completed. I would say about 95% completed. However, a building in and of itself is not a terminal, so it's the services that are provided. Where we are now is training people for what we call operational readiness. We have consultants even assisting us with that to ensure that once we do open, we open at the very high standards of an international airport. As you may have seen from some of the pictures or people who have had the opportunity to visit, there are a lot of new things in this terminal. There's a lot of equipment that's new. There are boarding bridges, passenger boarding bridges. There are check-in systems. There are elevators, escalators. All of these things are new to the people, so people have to be properly trained prior to us opening to the public. So we're looking at, I'd say late March, early April, or something like that, as being when we would complete this training and be able to hand over. One of the key things also is the power. As you can imagine, it's the requirements for this new terminal are significantly higher than what we have now. So there have been some slight delays in the transformers for we put in the order and everything like that, and these are not things that you just buy off the shelf. They have to be custom made for your specifications, and so I guess over the holiday season and things like that, the factories were closed, so there's been some slight delays with that, but all of these things, once addressed, will put us in the position to be able to open up to the public. So we're asking for your patience. We know everyone can see it now and visualize it. At first it was it's moved from the concept stage and us talking about dates to people actually seeing physical pictures of a building that's pretty much completed and wondering when we're going to be able to use it. But these are the other factors that need to be in place prior to us opening.
I know a lot of people are concerned when they think about an airport. They think the terminal alone is what makes an airport, but the runway is very important. I know we have had issues with international carriers with respect to the runway and then the rehabilitation work done. Are we fully completed with the runway, or we still need a little more to go with it?
We're pretty much completed with the runway. As part of that project, we also widened the turn pad where planes turn around, so it now positions us to accept almost any kind of aircraft, because then we would turn around. The only one is the A380, which is a humongous plane, but and then a new lighting system that's LED lighting, one of the first in Africa. We're quite proud to say. So when people land now, you even see the lights and you see the colors and the brightness. So all of those, thankfully, all of those challenges that we had in the past with runway issues are fully addressed now.
If we could have Air Force One come here, why not the A380 though? Anyway, but yes, we're grateful that that part of the project is almost solid and done. But again, when the criticism has always been about, Liberians will see things, will like it, but we always compare to other people. The terminal, people say it's small. What would your response be technically to all of this?
I would say before we did this terminal, there were studies done. Studies are done to assess your passenger flow, to plan for the future, 5-10 years out, what your anticipated passenger flow will be, and to build so you don't end up with a white elephant, because you have to be able to support the power requirements, cleaning, all of these things for the kind of terminal that you build. If people observe when you travel, they're in developed countries, they have terminals that have been there for 20-30 years. You still see them working on it, because then as you build out, when you grow,
you expand.
Exactly. And so we've put in place, this terminal is expandable once the time is. right now, this positions us to um, accept up to, say, 500,000 passengers a year. We currently get not even 100,000 passengers. So it positions us for the next 5 to 10 years. Once we grow, we can expand. But every amenity that you find in a modern terminal is included in this. So this prepares us quite adequately, I think, for the future.
So talk about the terminal being spoiled is not because people want a big white elephant, but it's scientifically studies were designed for that.
And one of the examples that we hear most of the time is Ghana.
Yeah.
So even Ghana, people see that around 2010, Ghana did work on the terminal. They've now 8 years later, they then worked on improving or enhancing the terminal. Ghana gets 1.8 million passengers a year.
Wow.
Versus us with 100,000. So they've built their market, and so once they grew it, they then
Okay, let me apologize for the breaking transmission there due to abrupt power failure from the Liberia Electricity Corporation. So we're back on our own power source. We'd like to say sorry for that. But let's continue. We're talking about the comparison between, Liberia and other countries, especially zeroing in on Accra, Ghana. Why the terminal is so small and these kinds of things people comparing. Let's continue our discussion along those lines.
Well, thank you again. And like I was saying, Ghana gets they built their market to they get about 1.8 to close to 2 million passengers per year that go through Accra. They also spent with some other works that they did $500 million on their upgrade to the airport. So what you see there is a $500 million project. So it will look like that. I don't think that we need a $500 million project now. When we've built up our market to a point where the terminal needs to be expanded, I think then we would have the room to be able to do so. So this is not the end. This is the beginning of a road that puts us on the path to getting to international standards that competes with any one of our neighbors or any country for our size, and it allows us room to grow at which time that our market builds up to that point.
So when we look at the terminal in itself and all of the services it is supposed to provide, how far are we in terms of getting all of these things functioning? I know you're eyeing April and May to go in there and start doing some some initial works, but in terms of full functionality of the terminal, what are you looking up to?
So that's the point that we're in now,
Okay.
where we're putting all of these things in place, testing them, training people to make sure that it's fully functioning, and it's called a pilot phase.
Okay.
That's what. So it's preparing you for what's called operational readiness. Like I said, we even have consultants who've done this.
So you, I think, so right now you're in the pilot stage.
Correct.
And the operational stage will be by March, April. Is that what you're saying? Or
no, we're in that phase now. We're testing everything to make sure that they work. That as much as possible in a real simulating a real world environment, that it would work. The first time that you open to the public is not the time that you're testing to make sure that all of these things work. So the phase that we're in now is where you're going through all of this. We would like to open, say, by late March, April, if all things being equal and all of these things and our people being properly trained. Like I said, there's a lot of new equipment that people need to be trained on, and so want to ensure that people are properly trained to handle these things prior to us opening.
it's a two-story building, right?
It is.
So give us a run around. What's downstairs and what's upstairs?
So on the departure side, there's a check-in area which has 10 check-in counters. There are also offices. There's a check forex bureau, things like that. There's a CCTV room which has over 80 cameras, so all angles of this airport, the air side, the land side, can be observed. There's a full room with a number of cameras, a number of screens to be able to monitor all the activities going on there. There's a control room which has all of the, like I said, now everything from the check-in counters to elevators, escalators, all of this is automated. The screens that inform you of your flights, which is called flight information display system.
Yeah.
All of those, all the systems that control those are in a control room. You then proceed to check immigration, security. There are stores on the ground floor. There are 8 stores on the ground floor. Duty-free stores, restrooms. There's an elevator, an escalator that goes upstairs to what are 4 departure gates. There's a business class lounge. There's a duty-free store, and there's a restaurant. Also restrooms, handicap-enabled restrooms, a smoking room for our smoking friends, and then, like I said, then you depart. On the arrival side, there are 2 passenger boarding bridges, at which point you then arrive on the 2nd floor and then descend either by stairs, escalator, or elevator, and go down to the waiting area. You'll go through immigration. There are 2 modern baggage carousels. There's also a duty-free store that's downstairs. There are restrooms, and then you depart through customs, and then there's also an information desk and things like that, and then you depart. So that's the basic layout
Okay.
of it. So people who've been fortunate to travel, if they conceptualize it and they think of walking through an airport, these are kind of standard passenger flow steps that you go through. So,
Now, the nitty-gritty of all of this is the service providers that are supposed to give various services at the airport. The airport itself, the RA cannot engage in that, so it has to sort of give this out to private business interests. Now, for an airport like that, what do you do? And drill us through the process. What is the acceptable thing to do?
sure. appreciate the opportunity to explain. For something like this, we're guided by Public Procurement Concession Act, PPCC and PPCC. So they're put in trying to be as transparent and fair as possible. So as per PPCC guidelines, it's put out to bid, it's advertised and put out to bid. There's a period it was advertised for a little over 2 months. We're also guided by PPCC has a scoring system, a recommended scoring system, a recommended criteria for what you should use, and so we followed these things to the letter because and consulted with them on every step of this, so as to be as transparent and fair as possible. Also trying to be cognizant of the fact that with the new Small Business Administration law, wanted to try to have Liberian participation as much as possible. So those are the two things that we tried to weigh. What the process then yielded a bid opening and submission of bids. A bid evaluation panel was commissioned, was established by us, and they went through the bids. That then generated a report, which then went to a procurement committee.
Did Liberian companies have an opportunity at bidding?
They did.
As well as international companies?
What we did was for things like the duty-free and the business class lounge, the restaurant, those under advice, those are put for what's called international competitive bidding. That's a process. There's national competitive bidding and international competitive bidding based on the funding and the criteria that were required. Those fit under international competitive bidding process. Like I said, what we try to do, and I'll explain about some of the other things that we've done, try to encourage Liberian participation, is we also try to be cognizant of the Small Business Administration Act and try to see as much Liberian participation as possible in this. So based on the receipt of the bids, this panel did the work, and then that generated a report, submitted it to the procurement committee, which I sit on, deliberated on the report, and finalized it, at which point then the preferred bidders are informed. Also those who were not successful are also informed. There's a period where they're invited or given the opportunity to come and clarify, to come and explain. In this case, we did have some seeking clarification. They came in, walked them through the entire report, give them reasons, show them where they fell short, why this one won, what the factors were, every single thing. So that's the process, and then before then letters are sent or finalized to the awardees, and then go into contract negotiations and things like that prior to them taking over whatever service that they've been preferred for.
Now, so after you did all of that, you separate. Did you separate the NBC from the IBC? Which did you give to national for which did you leave out for the nationals?
We basically we tried to cover. We did all international competitive bidding.
Everything was in one big basket.
Well, there are 8 stores.
Okay.
In addition to, so we kind of in our mind, we wanted to ensure as much as possible that those went almost exclusively to Liberians.
Okay.
But you have to do this within the confines of the law.
Yeah.
I would say that of the 8 stores, 7 out of the 8 were awarded to Liberians.
Okay.
So
7 out of the 8 stores.
correct.
Which is about 95%.
Correct. So those went to Liberians. The the
Which one went? Which one went to the internationals?
the business class lounge, the restaurant, and the duty free.
Okay, and that's what's causing all of these issues.
That's causing some.
What is the bone of contention here?
On the restaurant, for instance, the company that ended up winning is a company that has done business with the airport for 10 years. They've been here. They weren't. This is not their first entrant into. In fact, they have huge investment. They're the ones that do catering for airlines. They've been, like I said, they've been partners with the airport for 10 years. So
Proof of service is an advantage.
Exactly.
I mean, I do bidding yet too, so,
Yes.
so I go through the same thing.
That is one key requirement from PPCC. So that's what, on the lounge and the duty free. It's similar kind of things. It's proof of service. It's a list of clients, references.
Yeah.
All of these
Who
kind of
did you
things
deal with
are
before? People need to know.
correct.
If you say you're a good player, which teams did you play for
Correct.
before?
Correct.
These kinds of
And
things.
so these are the kind of things that
And
you
the
look for.
Liberian groups that put in their bids didn't meet the requirements there, and that stage at those levels.
That's, to be honest, that's where some Liberian firms that bid it for fell short,
Okay.
because had not done this at an airport. There's specifics of working at an airport that have to be guided by international aviation standards, International Civil Aviation Organization, which is ICAO, and IATA standards. We also.
But if I run a good restaurant in town, and it's good, I got good cuisine and everything in it, why can't I run a restaurant at an airport?
Well, you can bid, but if somebody who's run a good restaurant and has run it at, say, 50 airports also bids, then when you're weighing the two, that person, if you're looking at it transparently, that person then has an advantage.
Okay.
Is that good, bad, or indifferent? It's just the way it is. That person has an advantage.
The question here now is why don't we? Because I'm asking all of this because I've seen the back and forth on social media. Why are we giving things that are for Liberians out to foreigners?
And it's not, like I said, we're guided by what the requirements are exactly, that these should be put out to international bid. And then if an international bidder bids for it, you can't ignore it and say that this process is transparent and fair. PPCC, we once we're done with the process, we have to submit a report that has to demonstrate that it meets the requirement. Like I said, on the stores, for instance, 7 out of the 8 have been awarded to Liberians.
Okay.
I'll give you another example. The advertising. The advertising that's done for an airport isn't done by the airport authority or the airport authority. That's outsourced. That's outsourced to 2 Liberian companies. So we actively, it's been part of what we've tried to do to attract Liberians. I'll even go back to, since over the last 4 years that we've been there, the first time ever that parking had been outsourced was outsourced to a Liberian company. The current business class lounges that are used in both, it's a Liberian company that's been doing it for the last 2.5 years or so. The cargo concession, which is a quite major concession, we ensured that a Liberian preference was given to a Liberian. So I think, and all of these records are there. So for the airport authority, I think I could show you tangible examples where we actively have tried to ensure that Liberians get to participate in the work that we're doing. We're not perfect, and it can't always be the case in every single thing, but what I can assure the public of is that we've done this as transparently and as fairly as we possibly could. Where it's unfortunate that some people feel that, or they wanted participation in certain things and they didn't get it, but all we can do is try to be as fair, as transparent, and as in conforming with the law as possible.
Okay, so the 8 stores includes the business lounge and everything.
No, no. So those are separate from.
Those are separate from.
Yes, correct.
And so imagine out of 7 stores, out of 8 stores, 7 went to Liberians,
Correct.
and then the restaurant and the
Business
VIP
class lounge,
and
yes.
went out to international people.
Correct.
Okay, and because they have proven track record in doing so. Let's open the lines and see what people say about what they've heard from you so far. The numbers are 08805140960, 08805140960, and 0776089713. We have with us this morning the Honorable Will Bako Freeman. He's the managing director of the Roberts International Airport. He's brought us up to date with works there at the international airport and the process leading to the tendering and bidding of the services at the new terminal. It's brought about some concerns in public, so he's here this morning to give further clarification from the management's viewpoint. If you have an issue, let's hear from you this morning on the Super Morning Show. Now, before we start taking the calls there, when the airport is fully operational and running, are you outsourcing the process of doing that, or your entity under your watch will be solely responsible to the one solely responsible to do the airport?
The airport authority will run the airport.
Okay. Is there a plan in place for the contractors to stay in place for a period of time so as to ensure that they're there when they're needed to address some technical issues?
Correct. I'm happy you asked that question also. Per the contract, there's a 1 year and up to 3 years, which we've exercised, 3 years where they will be available for the maintenance of the terminal. We've recruited and put in place a team that has already begun working with them. They've been working with them since the inception of this project, and will continue to work with them, and who will take over at the end of those 3 years for the maintenance. So yes, so certainly the contractors are, as part of the contract, they're contracted for 3 years.
Morning, Managing Director Philip Wissa of the Inquirer. Good morning to you, Anthony Wissa.
Yeah, how you coming on?
Fine, thank you. I understand you haven't been too well. Let me give you my apologies.
Yeah, I'm trying to recover now.
Thank you very much. Good to hear your voice.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I've listened to the manager.
Yeah.
I think the problem, people are proactive. I've always said one of the problems we have in Liberia, especially with the government, is poor communication. See why he explained to us now. Those are things that you must do while the process is going on. You see, don't wait for the thing to come out, then you come to make clarification. Sometimes the message will not go through. So I think it's a lesson. This thing when it's happening, the public should be properly informed. And that will help a lot in the process.
Okay?
Yes.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you very much.
Right.
I hope you recover very fast so that you'll be able to be my guest again.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All the best. Thank you. Have yourself a good weekend. All right.
Okay, lady.
So yes, talking about the issue of communication, he says perhaps you people should have done more to explain to the public from time to time the various steps.
I sometimes we at the airport we kind of see people and say, oh well, how come you guys are doing these things? We don't know about it. So I admit we could do
A little more.
We kind of put our head down and try to do our work, and when we have something to say, we say it. However, in this case, though, in our defense, a procurement process is quite confidential.
Yeah.
So it's advertised as widely as you possibly can within the guidelines of the law, and the people who are interested, I mean, so like you you said, now I'm quite happy, or at any time, to explain the process that we went through. But while that process is going on, we're not allowed to divulge the name of bidders, who these are. These are confidential until the process has been completed. So that's, in this case, that's why. But I take the larger point about the public relations and letting people know about some of the things that we're doing.
Those who didn't win, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, I was reading on social media about Bella Casa not having, being one of those one of the bidders for the international lunch in the restaurant, and didn't get it, and they weren't too happy. Did they come to you all with their concerns?
They did. And,
what were their concerns?
We like I was mentioning earlier, as part of the process, once the report has been endorsed by the procurement committee, those who did not win are informed and allowed to seek clarification. In the case of Bella Casa, they did, and they came in. They were walked through the entire process. They were shown the reports, every step of the way. It was explained. So I mean, I can imagine if somebody doesn't win, you're still not happy.
Yeah.
But what I don't think anybody can quibble with is that this was not done transparently. It was not done
in accordance with the requirements.
In accordance with the requirements. And we don't have a record to show you. They were walked through the entire report. We spent a period of time going through the entire report with our people.
And they didn't have I mean, for the benefit of the public, sometimes it's important. What did they fail on?
So it's prior experience.
Prior experience. They couldn't show that they had done this before.
That's
as compared to another company.
Yes, and like I said, when you're in a bidding process, you're comparing,
experience versus anything else. Experience is an important factor here.
Correct.
Prove that you've done this work before and you're capable of delivering on what you're bidding for.
Correct.
So they didn't show such.
Well, versus the one who won.
Yeah.
For instance.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're comparing them to somebody else.
Yeah.
It's not just in a vacuum.
I go through that every day. So yeah. Finally, as we wind down, so now you've gone through all the hurdles of the bidding process. You've written down the winners, right?
Correct.
So when do they take over now to begin putting in what they're supposed to put in, so that by the time you give the public and the access to the facility, everything will be up and ready to go?
That process has already begun.
Okay.
Contract negotiations and finalization of contracts. So that process is actively going on now.
I usually, when I'm visiting the airport, I know I see the superstructure, but I'm also concerned about the perspective, because I always say no need to take bath and wear dirty clothes. I have all of these things under my belt. No need to take. If you're gonna wear dirty clothes, then don't take bath, because nobody sees you taking bath. They only see what you wear. So my thing is the perspective. What is it gonna look like? Where are we?
One thing that will be, and we're already working on relocation, where the customs house is. If you will observe, it kind of obscures the view of the terminal. That will be demolished.
Okay.
And so that a clearer view of
the market is behind the customs house. What are you going to do with that market?
No, that market was broken down some time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so but even that area, for parking and all of these kind of things, will also be, the aesthetics of it will also be improved.
Okay.
Some of the other structures there that are not as functioning will be, the plan is to demolish them too. So yes, we also concerned with, like you said, you're coming now and you have to trudge through, to use your analogy, to have the bath and then to put on dirty clothes. So we're looking at that also, the aesthetics on the approach to the airport, and trying to ensure that also is pleasing to the eye.
Hawking is also a concern. How are you going to deal with that, especially when you open the new terminal?
To be honest, that's something every day we deal with. I was leaving the exit the other day and saw someone across holding bushmeat in their hand for heaven's sake. So we're constantly facing. So our security have to be more vigilant. We have more restricted areas farther away from the terminal now. So we're putting in plan putting in place a plan also for that to ensure that these kind of things are don't happen with the new terminal coming in.
Managing Director Will Bako Freeman, let me say thank you this morning for taking time off your busy schedule to be here just to provide some updates and clarification on some of the vexing issues associated with bringing with the works going on at the Roberts International Airport.
Thank you certainly for the opportunity.
Okay. All right, you're listening to the Super Morning Show. You just had we just had here a conversation with Honorable Will Bako Freeman, Managing Director, Liberia. That's the Roberts International Airport. We said to you in just about 5 minutes time, we'll have with us our special studio guest, Emma Glasgow. She is the head of the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authorities of Liberia. They're under fire for perhaps the wrong reasons. But getting into a deal with the Senegalese to do some fisheries, to improve upon our fisheries here in Liberia. So we'll hear from her this morning. What's this deal all about and the noise behind it, and give us some clarifications on the technical cooperation framework, and that's still in the works. What's happening with all of that when she comes here on the Super Morning Show.
You can feel it. You can touch it. So, wake up with it. It's on your dial. It's the Super Morning Show with your superness.
A minute after 9 o'clock. You're still listening here to the Super Morning Show, just in case you just tune in. Shortly we'll bring you sports with Michael Weir, and then we'll begin our discussion.
Baby, for prosperity and development. Your radio just got better listening to ELBC. ELBC Radio, the voice for the promotion of the